Robert Kennedy, who I can hardly believe was shot to death in the spring of next year, almost 40 years ago. I don't think Robert Kennedy had a Gallup poll to back him up on this, but he used to say this. He used to say, there's 20% of the folks I don't never worry about. I don't worry about anything they have to say. Somebody said, why don't you worry about that 20%? He said, because there's 1/5 of all the people who are against everything 100% of the time. I don't know if he had a Gallup poll or not, but I believe he was telling the truth when he said that. There's 1/5 of the people in our church that are against everything all the time. There's 1/5 of the people in my house that are against everything all the time. And that's the group I'm talking about. That's the group that's against you, and that's the group that's always telling you what you cannot do. You got to get away from those folks. I was visiting with Greg and his sisters at the hospital on Thursday. And you know the conversation. We've been there for several hours by then. You know the conversation has about run out when the name of Hugh Lee Adams comes up in the conversation. You know you've run out of things to talk about now. And Greg began to say that Hugh Lee had been one of his favorite teachers because he had him for English. And he said, I always hated the literature part of English. He said, but then Mr. Adams taught me to love Macbeth and got me through Macbeth. I didn't think I could ever get through Macbeth, but he thought I could, and bless God I did. Then his sisters started talking about, oh, I had Mr. Adams, one of them said for science, and I didn't think I could ever be in the science fair. And one day Mr. Adams told me he believed I could be in the science fair, so I fixed up my project and I went out for it, and I won first place because Mr. Adams believed I could. Folks, listen, there's something to be said if you're a naysayer and if you're one of those people that always tells folks what they can't do. There's something to be said for people who are encouraging instead of discouraging all the time. You can get a lot of meat out of somebody if you'll just be encouraging and uplifting instead of always bringing the bad news that it can't be done.